the system is the average person is having his net worth eaten by inflation, going deeper into debt each year that he's personally liable for, doesn't own a corporation where you can get loans that he could use to buy more clients and customers and therefore more revenue, and not even be liable for that company or for those loans, and owes no assets of note, and mortgage is not a liability. Average American has less than 10,000 in savings, or no, sorry, 50%. They don't own equities. They don't own any assets outside of a mortgage, which is they think is an asset, which is actually a liability. It is a horrendous system for the average person. However, when you have a good high margin business and a good flywheel, okay, which is like a marketing machine where you can, let's say, run ads, you get 100% return on the ads within a month or so, right? And just keep funneling that money into more ads, which gets you more clients, more customers. More clients brings in more revenue. That pushes you back into ads. That's how you get really rich. That's how everyone got rich on the Forbes 500 list, is they went into one business and they scaled it. Even Warren Buffett, his business is Berkshire Hathaway. He runs a service business where he does 20% a year. Market does 8%. That 12% has got, you know, $80 billion worth of net worth for him because he was able to convince people to invest in his service business. But ultimately, you want that flywheel. You know, the traditional investments aren't going to get you rich unless you're already rich and then they make you richer. You need something that's going to do those 10, 20,000%. And you want to have that compounding monthly. But if you do, if you're just running on a business and a flywheel and you're compounding monthly and you're crushing inflation and you're scaling your net worth exponentially, you're doing great, but you're still just running a treadmill just very far ahead of inflation. If you were to stop making money, it might take 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, 70 years, 80 years, but eventually inflation is going to eat away almost all your purchasing power. If you were to just leave money in cash, and okay, you could invest and hopefully your assets would keep pace with inflation, but ultimately you're still running against it. You're using those assets to keep inflation at bay, at least until there's some high inflation or hyperinflation season, which there will be even in the US dollar. It happens in every currency. We just don't know when that will be. So ultimately, once the high inflation or the hyperinflation comes for you, you know, you're going to get hit. Now, granted, if you're doing 10 million a year or whatever, you're going to be good. I'm just saying as a general principle. It's good, but it's not making the game work for you to where you're like, ooh, I would rather play this game than the hard money game. To where you really make it work for you is when you're able to generate good revenue in your business. Then you're able to build the flywheel, reinvest, and then you're able to use that revenue to go to the banks and get 500,000 in business credit, or you're able to get $5 million in an SBA loan, which you should definitely be looking at as an American, where the government covers 90 or insures 90% of it. So banks are much more likely to issue that kind of a loan, especially when you have a good revenue turnover in your business, and you can tell them, hey, it's going to this marketing flywheel that's already working, right? So you get your SBA loan at $5 million, you owe 8% a year. You'll murder that because you've got this money machine. You take the 5 million and you're putting it right into getting clients and customers. You're going from being in 3 states to all 52 states in a year's time with that amount of marketing. Or maybe you're not going that fast, but you get the idea. And it's only then, once you are playing the game to the maximum, making it work for you, because until then you have to get other people to give you money, right? Let's say you're earning $3 million a year total revenue. How long is it going to take you, even if you have 50% margins, to get $5 million in the bank account after paying everybody, after paying business taxes, after taking out your salary and paying taxes on that, how long will it take you to get that 5 million um, in your business bank account? Might be 2 or 3 years. As opposed to when you go get that loan, once it's approved, it's in your account in 2 or 3 days, and you didn't have to go through all that trouble and effort over 2 or 3 years to get that money. They just created it for you. And the price to own it is 8% a year, which you already crush. You'll know that with certainty because you're already crushing that in your business, and you just be doing more of the same. So if you're not aiming to do that, in my opinion, you are fucking up. Now, I'm not saying to do that right now, um, or to do that recklessly. I'm saying to look into getting business credit once your business is at a stage where you can properly utilize that and um, be able to well outpay the interest, right? Because you don't want to bankrupt your business, even if it's a limited liability company and you're not personally liable for it. Well, that's at least in terms of loans. In terms of business credit, I would say get as much as you can. Let me clarify. The loan is something where the interest payment starts immediately. Business credit, if you can go and get, 500K in business credit, like a line of credit or, 500K limit on your card, go ahead and get that immediately because that's no harm to you. You only have to pay interest when you spend it. But for the loans, make sure you're in the proper position. Again, though, to get these kind of funds, you do have to be able to get to a certain level in your business, which obviously takes effort. But once you're there, it gets easier and easier and easier over time because you're able to get this money, put it back into the business, increase the revenue. Then the banks will give you more money. And then you can start to get 5 million, 10 million, 15 million. You can get people to invest in your business. You can get people to buy out your business and give you a juicy exit at like a 5x multiple or a 10x multiple. And if you do well enough, you can go public and then get all these people to buy in and get other people's money that way. But all those other options I mentioned, unless you are getting a loan or you're getting credit, you're not getting anyone to create money for you. You're just getting other people to give existing money to you. So you ideally want to be doing both. And if you're not doing both, you're not playing the game at the maximum level to where you prefer the system. That's the mark of a true game player is whatever game's in front of him, he gets his mind around to where he prefers that. Now, this is not an ethical commentary on the fiat banking system. This is not intended to rub you the wrong way and say that I support the system. I'm not taking in this video any position one way or the other on it. This is just a video about facts and about how to play the game. The fact is, to make the fiat system work for you means you are going to be in the 0.01% who understand the game, who work hard enough to build a revenue vehicle and are courageous enough to play the game, go get the debt and the limited liability company, put it to use, have the right strategy to use it possible, which is, that's what every billionaire's done. It's what everyone on the Forbes 500 list has done. But I'd say 0.01%, top top one out of 10,000 to 100,000 are the guys who make this work for you. And just so you know, a decamillionaire is a high net worth individual is top 50,000 out of 6 billion. Okay. So when we're talking about a net worth of 5 million, maybe we're talking top 200,000, 300,000. I don't know exactly, but in that $10 million range, it's top 50,000 out of 6 billion. So, I think you need to be over the next decade aiming for multiple seven figures. The game has changed post pandemic, AI, all this stuff, inflation. And yeah, you need to be looking at being 0.01%. And to do that, you'll probably need, or it'll certainly help you to get this corporate debt. So, especially without liability. But obviously, this is a terrible soul crushing system for the average person. There's a reason usury was illegal for 700 years under the Catholic Church, and to this day is illegal under Islamic law. That being said, I have empathy for the average guy. I just don't want to be him. I don't think you should want to be him either. and we have to play the hand that we were dealt. So, solution is not to be average. So, with all that said, if you like this game and you are serious about the 0.1%, then I want you to check out my net worth course. This is my 8-figure game plan, revolutionarylifestyledesign.com/coaches. It is a game plan for you to get you to 8 figures over the next decade or so. It's not a guarantee by any means. It is merely a game plan that I've been strategizing basically the second the pandemic hit. I started thinking about how am I going to play this and how does this change the world? And we started to see AI reset coming, monetary reset coming, 15-minute cities, carbon credit, social credit, ESG, governance on your business coming, which is going to cost on your home. AI is going to wipe out 40% of the jobs. People are going to be on UBI. These are all out there publicly, stated by the various people that are moving this thing forward, right? Chat GPT's out. That's going to crush 10-15% of jobs right there. Businesses are going to be affected. You're going to have to be using AI for your business. We had record high inflations, 30-40 year high, debts exponentially expanding. Debt ceiling is going to keep being raised. Threat of the U.S. not being used as the petrodollar system anymore, with Saudi looking to perhaps do business with Russia and China. Russia moved off of SWIFT system. BRICS countries gathering together to build out their own version of the system and perhaps their own currency, or at least using their, maybe they use the yuan or something as the currency for that. So there's some real changes taking place here that I'm taking very seriously. And the life game that I was giving you in the 2010s, make 25 grand in a lifestyle business, move to Southeast Asia, Latin America, Eastern Europe, enjoy your life, legally minimize or get rid of your taxes if you're a non-American. That's not the game plan for the 2020s as far as I'm concerned. We are living in a rare, crazy time in history. And that's just what's going down in the next 10 years. Think about how AI and technology is going to expand and rapidly change things exponentially over the next decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, to the point where it's almost impossible to make any prediction to it. And in my opinion, you can't bet on gold or Bitcoin getting you through. Certainly own some, right? But we saw, Bitcoin during the pandemic cut down by 70%, right? Not to mention could very easily be convertibility issues in the future about banks not accepting payments that came from crypto exchanges, or only certain crypto exchanges are allowed to. Local Bitcoins went down, right? So, the peer-to-peer transitions may be affected. We don't know what's going to happen. And my opinion is this: I don't want to bet on something that could happen, that Bitcoin could become the global standard. We can use it everywhere. There's no convertibility issues, and it goes to the moon. It could. It could also go to zero. Gold could also be unsuppressed. Some of my clients who love gold talk about gold as always being suppressed. It may or may not be. I don't understand enough. I don't know if anyone does. Maybe it could become unsuppressed and 10x. And if you went all in gold, you're good. Assuming, again, there's no convertibility issues on gold like there were during the Great Depression. At the end of the day, you don't know. But here's what I do know is what I think will get you through is aiming for a net worth of 10 million by 2030. I think if you can do that, you'll have done well. Unless there was some hyperinflation and 10 million means nothing. But I'm talking about 10 million in today's dollars and adjusted for whatever the inflation is. Or at the least, you've got multiple 7 figures going off in businesses, and maybe you've got 3-4 million adjusted for inflation or whatever. Either way, it's a bigger target than before. And then once you get your businesses, you get flywheel, reinvestment, get you some corporate debt, scale it. You can scale out maybe another a couple businesses once you're above it. And then you start to do the hedge and you buy everything: the gold, the Bitcoin, the rental property, etc. The plan is to have it all, um, and a much higher target than before. I go into that in massive detail, stuff that you've never seen. This is basically 3 years of research and testing with my high net worth clients, with my friends, with myself. I account for psychology as well, how it's going to feel, as well as, um, what's most practical, how to actually apply these techniques, where to buy the gold if you're going to buy the gold, what you need to do in your business. This is the survival and thrival game plan in terms of your net worth, both in terms of how I think you should go about getting it, but how I think you should go about protecting it. And more than that, if you like the game that was delivered in this vehicle, I go deep into game on the philosophy of money, how money actually works. And I don't care how successful you are, this stuff you've never seen anywhere. This is a deep dive into money, and it will open your eyes in a massive way. And I think you will come to the same conclusion that I've come to. And it's probably one of the best things that you could buy this decade, is to have a game plan to make sure that your financial survival, but more importantly, your thrival is handled, and you know exactly what you're doing, and you're planned out your decade long financial goals.